Hello everyone, and welcome to Deckbuilding Derezzed. I'm your host, Code Marvelous, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Calimsha.
Hello.
How are you doing today, man?
It's 10 p.m. in my time zone, but I'm okay. I'm fine. Still have to
Oh,
study a bit.
so obviously you're somebody who is very well known as a deck constructor and a deck refiner in the Netrunner community. So tell me how you got to that point. How did you get into Netrunner? What's been kind of your experience so far, with your
Okay.
play and competition?
The thing is, I discovered Netmer like 10, 15 years ago because I didn't start with Android Net. I started with the CCG, and when I was in college, my game store was selling a lot of old CCG display for really cheap, something like 25 euro for 30 boosters. So I just bought a lot of CCG card, trying to figure out what to do with this with those cards and play with my friend. And when I heard that Netrunner will be reboot in an ECG format, I jumped on the ship pretty fast, and I think I started around mid Genesis. Mm,
Right.
and since then it's became my main card game. So
Yeah. So you're one of the originals playing the old school game with the armored fridges and the I've got a
yeah,
box.
yeah.
Yeah. Some slight balance problems in that game.
Well, I think the core of the whole game was really interesting, and it was a really good move from FFG to reboot the game. So there was some issue with balance, like as you said, the some deck could easily win by turn 3 or turn 4, and without any kind of interaction. But we are past that, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, the archetypes that you're really excited about, especially in a post NAPD most wanted list world.
Well, to be fair, I'm not really excited about any deck at the moment because every deck I'm building, either on the corp or runner side, feels like I'm trying to play with the same deck as before, but where I have to cut like 5 or 6 good cards for 5 or 6 bad cards. So I've tried a lot of build in Anarch, a lot of build in Shaper, a lot of build in NBN, in HB, in Genteki, and overall I think everything just feel weaker than before the most wanted list.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I'm excited because my Haley deck that I've been playing, which is basically essentially Shaper bullshit distilled down into a deck, is kind of good because in Haley, because of all the value that you can get out of clone ships, you don't mind paying the extra influence for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you look at the new kind of kit deck, all the Shaper bullshit is still there. So okay, you have to find 5 or 6 influence in the deck, but in the end, you still have your 3 clone chip, you still have your 2 lady, you still have 2 or 3 SMC, the parasite, etc., etc., etc. So
Right.
it's just slower than before because you can't afford to play 3 voice pad and 3 lucky find, and just go with it.
Right. All right. But runners will be another time, perhaps. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the much loved and also much hated
Yeah.
Fastrobiotics NEH, a strong I archetype to be sure, that is clearly one of the archetypes that the NAPD Most Wanted list was meant to target. And you've done your edits here as far as updating it for the Most Wanted list. So tell me a little bit about how much of the power level you think has really been affected by the NAPD Most Wanted list.
The thing is, as I said earlier, everything else, both runner and cup side, got weakened down by the most wanted list, and the runner side got really slowed down because if you play runner, you can't play 3 clone chip anymore. You can't have 3 parasite and have a ton of influence for something else. So uh, even if the NEH got affected. In the end, you still have 3 Astro script, you still have 3 Sensen, you still have 2 Biotic, 2 Fast Track, and okay, your eyes are weaker than before. That's good because Ellie was insanely strong, Architect was insanely strong as well, but it's okay. You can just play an Octocad. You can just play some other eyes and you can still ride the Drasto train like before. So
I mean, that's fair, yeah. I mean, it hasn't lost too much of its
you
potency.
just lost eyes and NAPD. That's the only thing the Astrobiotic lost since well with the most wanted list.
Okay.
NAPD is actually problematic because it was one of the easiest agenda to score early on. You can just score NAPD behind a pop-up or something else and have 2 free point. Well, it's not free, but 2 easy point like that.
Right. So let's go through the cards and let's talk about some of the changes, and we'll talk about, you know, why some of those things have been added or removed. So if we look at the agenda suite, you have, as you just mentioned, functionally the same agenda suite as before, except for the 3 NAPDs have been replaced with Explodapaloozas.
Yep.
So is that just basically that if you can't make the runner spend more money, you can at least get more money to close?
Yeah. In the first version of the new for the post most wanted NEH deck I've built, I used 2 GFI instead of 3 Explodapalooza. But the thing is, GFI is still really hard to score, and
yeah, you're never gonna score that.
You're never gonna score that in this list. And paying 2 influence for that, I didn't think it was really worth it.
Okay.
So I just switched back to 3 Explodapalooza, and so I can have more influence for my eyes.
Right, and you could conceivably score this if you've got a Res Sansan and an Astro counter.
Yep.
It's not likely, but it could happen.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so not much really seems to have changed as far as assets.
It's exactly the same as before. So
we got 1 daily business show, make those draws really consistent. It's important to note for maybe people who haven't played this archetype, the daily business show also triggers, well, it would have triggered off of architect draws that happen on the runner's turn.
Doesn't work anymore, but no.
Doesn't work anymore. Got 3 Jacksons for the same reason. All decks have Jackson, and we have 3 pad campaigns.
Yeah.
So we got 1 cyber decks.
Yeah. I know a lot of people play 2 cyber deck instead of a single one. And usually they cut the daily business show to put a cyber deck instead. On my part, I've actually tried both. I mean, 2 cyber decks, 0 daily business show, 2 daily business show, no cyber decks. And in the end, I found that this reputation the best because before that, Kate can find 2 clone ship really fast. Just quality time, then diesel, and Kate can just draw 8 cards in a row, drop a clone ship, and after that can start to clock lock you. But since the runner slow down as well, they can't do that as easily. So the CVS is mainly used for your last agenda, and you don't really need it early on.
Right, and it's also important to note that in the current meta and the one we're likely to see, a lot of Anarchs, their viruses are icing on the cake, but with Faust as a dominant breaker, they're not depending on viruses for their game plan as much as pre-Faust Noise needed those virus tokens, or Reg Val needed those virus tokens. 3 Sansan grids, so you got the full set of 3, which effectively take you down by 3 influence in this deck.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about why.
I've tried I tried 2 Sansan at some point. So, and with the 4 remaining influence, I could play either 2 Eli or 1 Architect and something else. And the thing is, Sansan is really good to scoring your auto agenda. Obviously, you want to score your Astro script, and you want to only score your Astro script. But with a Sansan on board, and if the runner can really deal with the Sansan because he doesn't have the right breaker to go into the Sansan server, or just doesn't have enough money to trash it, you can just score your bill, and you can also score your exploder on it. So, and the other reason is I'm also playing 2 fast track in this deck, and with a Sanson red on board, an Astro Sweep token, you can just call your Astro Sweep from your deck with a fast track if your opponent doesn't have clout.
Right.
And that's the main reason why I'm still playing 3 Sanson.
Right, and it also forces it, as always, it forces the runner to spend money.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got 2 Biotic Labor. Not necessarily surprising that's the same thing as the old version of the deck, which is just another way to get that first Astro scored. 2 Fast Track. So this is something I struggle with, and I've been playing Sync Psycho, or I should say Sync Fastro with the Psycho alternate condition since Worlds, and this is something I actually wanted to ask you about. When do you fast track? Like, how do you read that moment that it's the right time to fast track?
It's depend on the board state. If the runner can't, for instance, if the runner doesn't have anything on board and my HQ is protected, and honestly, my HQ is always going to be protected on turn 1. The reason is I really like to, when I play this deck, I really want to have 1 or 2 agenda in my starting hand. So HQ is always going to be the first server I'm going to protect. Except against maybe Kate, because most Kate deck doesn't have a lot of HQ trait and can't really afford to run 3 times on HQ on first turn. But yeah, most of the time my HQ will be protected. So if the runner doesn't have any kind of breaker on board, I have a hand of 5 card and no agenda. I'm just gonna fast track an agenda because the runner have to put his breaker on board, put the right breaker. So maybe he has to run on HQ first, force me to raise, and I'm not gonna raise every time. I mean, if they just run for single access, it's 20% for the runner to get the agenda. So I'm just gonna let them in and just keep an agenda in hand. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think it's worth the risk. And as I said earlier, it's also really good if you have a Sentinel on board and either a Biotic in hand or an Astro Sweep token ready, so you can just play fast track, get your Astro Sweep, put it on your Sensen, advance it once, use the token, and score from the deck.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, so we've got same, money cards. We have Shipment from San, and I imagine that's to get around Clot, right?
Yeah. Every time I know my opponent have a possibility to use Clot, I'm just gonna ask when you play something, when I Clot, no, okay, Shipment, see if it's an agenda, and do something else if it's not an agenda.
Right, and for those of you watching, so normally what happens is a lot of times, because people are worried about you bluffing out like an asset as something to clot, they'll wait until you put your first advancement on it to pop the clot. So this gets around it. If they don't pop the clot on the install, they don't have a window between after you play Shipment from San to bring the clot out, so you can just score, because it's still you're the active player. Your window happens before theirs, so you can score out.
Yeah.
We got Sweeps Week for the same reason every NBN deck runs Sweeps Week. So as far as ice changes, obviously we've got some changes because of influence shifts. We have a 1 of Resistor.
Yeah, I would like to play more Resistor actually, but I've seen a lot of Nexus Cade recently, and Resistor is just really, really bad against those decks. So that's why I'm just keeping 1 at the moment, and not more.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. When somebody isn't running a Link deck, it's a hilariously good piece of gear check.
But if they run Link, this card is just garbage. So
yeah, it's effectively blank. 2 Wall of Statics, and then we got 2 wraparounds for the same reason. Man, NBN has some really great cards.
Yeah.
And then everybody's favorite post-data in Destiny, Ambush Ice, Archangel. So walk me through what some of the priority targets for this are going to be.
It's depend on the deck. I use it on medium if they hit the Archangel from during the Windy Dig. Proco is a really nice target because the runner just paid 5 credit to play his Proco, and I'm just gonna bounce it in his hand. But most of the time, I use Archangel with another ice, like Wraparound or Quandary or just something else. Put Archangel behind and just bounce
The breaker.
the breaker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love this card so much. I had somebody hit it off of an R&D dig at the last tournament, and I bounced their Scheherazade that had their entire rig installed on it. It's delicious when you get those moments. All right, so we've got a little engine.
Yeah, this one is mainly used on for the first matchup because it's like 7 card, I think. No, it's not 7. It's less. It's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 5 card on the first to break it. So
yeah, it's awful.
And if you want to use your David token, well, it's still 2 David tokens, so you just have something else behind, and it's still strong. So.
Right, and it's also important to note that against a Faust matchup, the runner having money, if Faust is their primary breaker, doesn't necessarily help them that much.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter for the runner to have money if they money break with card in hand.
Yeah, the world's angriest Thomas the Tank Engine, right here. All right, 2 pop-ups just to get yourself a little bit of that extra money and slow people down.
Yeah, I know a lot of NBN players like to play 3 pop-up. My 3rd pop-up got cut for the resistor in when I played at Worlds, and I found this ratio pretty good. So.
Okay, yeah. 2 Quandary, gear check, I imagine, and get cheeky and maybe since usually, especially in Shaper, if they're running like a Gordian, it's going to be pricey, so they might not be able to get that out turn 1.
And the other reason why I play Quandary instead of Enigma, well, the one West Coast is actually the main reason. But since Yogg is cost influence, and Arnak don't really have access to instant parasite as easily as before, if they run Quandary, they have to run on it, end the run, play the parasite, run again.
Yeah, it's bad.
If they do that, you can just rest another ice on your remote. You never rest with a single ice anyway, so.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's a more cost-effective gear check than Enigma. Yeah. We got a Grim, which is an interesting choice.
Well, the Grim pick has the same logic as the Archangel one, since this deck is running really hard on gear check. Your water static, your wraparound, your Candra, etc. So, and since runners have to play fast against this kind of, they can set up their entire rig on board. They have to run with less than they really want to. Grim can just slow them down a little bit. So,
right. It's also important to note that Grim. People haven't seen it in a while. I think it's going to start coming back, especially as people are experimenting more with Wayland shutdown and gear check again because of
less clone
what happened. Yeah. Clone chip. Remember that it's Trash 1 program, so if you can get host programs, it's going to get more bang for your buck. Along that same vein, we have 2 roto turrets.
Yeah, the nerf on both Parasite and Clone Chip may make roto turret really good because people just face check everything now against NBN because you don't have architects, so until you have something to trash, they can just run everything.
I remember in Genesis before Clone Chip where you could kill this instantly. This piece of ice was amazing.
Yeah. And so now that there's less clone chip in the meta game, I think auto turret is really good. It's really good now. And this against criminal is effectively an archetype because it's 2 credit every time they have to run through it.
That's true as well. And then we have 1 of Swordsman.
I'm not really sure if Swordram is the right call in this deck because I already have 2 wraparound, 1. What's the name? 1 little engine for the first deck, but since I have 1 free influence, I don't really know what to do with it. So that's why I put the Swordman in the deck.
I mean, and if you can catch somebody napping using Faust as a primary breaker,
Yeah.
that's a great pick.
But you
Yeah.
can really, it's purely opportunistic. If you can draw the Swordman fast enough and before they get something else on board, like a Mimic or a clone ship. But yeah.
Okay. So give me some final thoughts before we go over and try to play this on Jinteki as to, you know, what are some of the key mindsets that you have to keep to kind of play this deck well?
Okay. I think the main issue a lot of people have when they play NBN is that they try to score their school sweep and just keep their auto agenda in hand or flush it with Jackson. I don't think it's a right mindset. You have to try to score every agenda you draw. If you draw an agenda and you have a remote, just go put in remote, try to score it, especially if the runner isn't totally set. So
just play fast.
it's a rush deck, and I think that's the main issue a lot of people have with this deck, because I think it's a faster than deck. No, it's not a faster deck. Well, it is a faster than deck, but you mainly use your fast advance to close out the game. If you can score 2 agenda behind 2 gear check, that's 2 agenda you don't have to use a Sansan or Biotic to score it.
Right. So really just try to leverage the speed of Near Earth Hub, because you're not going to really have a great time once the runner is fully set up.
If the runner is fully set up, your best chance is to try to score with the fast track, and but after that the game is pretty much over. So
okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. So everybody stay tuned. We're going to do a test run where we're going to play this deck together on Jinteki.net and see how we do. Everyone, you can find Calimsha basically everywhere Netrunner related by that name. I can't remember, are you on Twitter as well?
Yeah, it's just Calimsha, but I don't really use Twitter. In fact, the only time I'm using Twitter is when I'm going to a Netrunner tournament. So
right, but you are on the StimHack forums pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much. We're going to go test run the deck and see how we do. Everybody, you can find A&R Black Hats on Facebook, Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Subscribe and share, and we'll catch you next time.